Hi there, welcome back to another episode of the BARROW Podcast. Welcome back from the short break we took. We're back with a brand new episode. As I sort of mentioned or alluded to prior to the break, we're now sort of going to commence the process of reaching out to publishers and you know, see where we can maybe place this book. If we can. And today I'm going to read the very first chapter from like the finished version of the manuscript, or like what I think is close to a finalized version of this first chapter anyway. And as I also mentioned previously, like we've dealt with Mum's story more or less up to, you know, divorce and access beginning and all that sort of stuff. And so from really this point on, we're kind of sort of be a little bit more focused on my story, I guess. It's still a combined effort, of course, but, you know, like you might, Mum, be in more of the driver's seat a little bit in some of the forthcoming episodes to ask questions and,
sure.
you know, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. How are you feeling today? In a rip-roaring mood, as always?
Of course.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Great. Great. All right. Well, this is sort of what the book is looking like here. This is the little manuscript. As you know, the title is A Parallel Universe. And I think I might just get into it and read this first chapter, if that works for you.
Good.
There's so many pieces of paper. Too many pieces of paper. All right.
Always.
Here we go. Chapter 1. She's 4 years old, Mum tells you, when she takes it upon herself to try her hand at cooking. She describes watching her own mother in the kitchen, and you picture the late Mrs. Agnew, your Grandma Noon, fussing over the stovetop in the same controlling manner she did when you lived with her after your parents' divorce. Mum tells you that at 4, having watched Ma Noon in the kitchen, she wants to demonstrate what she's learned. It's in this description you locate a pattern that will ruin her life. Your mother is someone who needs to prove things to people, the type of daughter who experiences the need to prove herself to her mother. And what a mother, Ma Noon, who will crystallize in the house you later share together, where she will come to be defined as much by her irritability and pernicious judgments as by her cooking, who eventually will never leave the green leather armchair in the living room from where she dispenses her decrees, and who in time will fade into demented oblivion, while her husband, that silly man she calls him, will fret and fuss about her, combing her thinning black bob until her light blue eyes turn milk grey, and she forgets, goes on forgetting until the photographs of their safaris hung all about her on the walls of their final residence, an apartment inside Pinewood Retirement Village, no longer prompt her to recall the sunset lions and elephants at dawn, no longer capable of drawing her back to the reedy black guide with the rifle slung across his shoulder, seated on the bull bar of their convertible Jeep, and she will want to know, who is that, and what are those? Your own mother, you've come to realize since reflecting on your time living with your grandparents as a boy, your mother was doomed right from the start, and because your mother's story is essentially your own, so were you. When you first extract the scene from Mum, neither of you perceive its significance. It's a few months later when you're listening back to the conversation recorded on the voice memo app on your iPhone that you realize it could make for a beginning. You advise her of this and encourage her to write it. She does. I'm 4 years old when I decide to try my hand at cooking. I've watched my mother so many times in the kitchen, and now I want to show her what I've learned. It's early when I wake up, daylight just beginning to break through, and icy in the house because nobody has been up yet to light the fires. Mum describes putting on her dressing gown, Then, passing through the lounge room where the open fireplace is cold and barren, she describes it as appearing deserted. Before walking through the back door of the workers' cottage she and her parents are living in on a few acres of farmland. Near the schoolhouse, she writes. You ask her to clarify the location, bringing up the rural territory on Google Maps, pinching in and out before settling on a region abutting the river border. The problem is that her memoir has the tendency to play out in her mind alone, to an audience of one. She hasn't yet consolidated the ability to write in a manner that makes the details apparent to you, but she's learning. Above the uncomfortable writing desk in Pop Anthony's old study, the rules are written in your hand on a sheet of A4 paper taped to the wall. 1. Plain, simple language. 2. Be specific. 3. Sensory details. 4. No explanations or pronouncements. 5. Stop after 3 pages or 500 words. 6. No reading over past notes. 7. Short sentences are best. 8. If you get stuck, articulate why you are stuck, what you would like to write but cannot, then move on to the next thing. They're the same rules you used to prescribe your writing students at the university to help them over the initial hurdles impeding the first drafts of their theses. These rules remind you of a simpler time when your life was all forward momentum and your only concern was making a name for yourself, a time before the events that brought you back to your family home in Ballin, back to Pop Anthony's stuffy old study with its patchy, thinning carpets and uncomfortable desk, where you are now attempting to excavate a book you pray might salvage your career, the last word on a life and family that hasn't worked out for anybody. Families can detonate. Some families are torn apart forever by one small act, one solitary mistake. These are lines from a novel that gave you the idea you might be able to one day write your own. Living in my family, it was a series of small explosions, consistent, passionate, pathetic. The passionate and the pathetic, indeed. Maybe a good title. Consider it The Passionate and the Pathetic. So far, your excavation has revealed a singular, lonely truth. The patterns that come to ruin us emerge early. Looking back, you see that your own pattern was set in the immediate aftermath of that first great detonation, a series of repeated thoughts and avoidances that have put you on a parallel path to your mother's, though you hate to concede it. And so you're 35 and Mum is 66, and you're again living together in the house Ma Noon and Pop Anthony renovated to accommodate you after your parents' divorce. It was supposed to be temporary. Mum is an educated woman, in possession of a master's from the same sandstone institution you attended and where you later taught, where she studied music and history in the 1980s. She is purchasing a packet of chicken-flavoured crisps from the vending machine in the library foyer. Rain collects on a stone archway. The chips are for you. The rain means spring. But is this right? Or have you mistaken your fascination with the water feature at the State Gallery and projected it here, pushing it further back into the past and onto a time and place where it never belonged? Could it be that the stone archway in spring is a recollection from your own years teaching at the university? Were the crisps from the vending machine those your mother bought you, or the ones Pop Anthony used to purchase for you after swimming lessons at the YMCA in Ballin? And did you ever know your mother then? And did you even know your mother then when she attended the university? Were you even alive? Or is it that your memory of her studying is actually from her time attending night schools in the 1990s when she was returning to music? Does it need to be stated that a memoir is as much about the nature of memory as the memories themselves? This book is a memory, just as a novel is its message. What's the message of this book, someone will ask, meaning what's it trying to say? And you will think of the authors from almost every era before now to whom such a question is incomprehensible and who would surely reply, it isn't trying to say anything, it is saying itself for 300 pages. That's what it's saying, whatever it is saying in each sentence and paragraph on every page. Message? I have no idea what you mean. The message's style, the message's form, the message is what I have made in its entirety. This book is its message. This book is its memory, is memory. And memory, we know, is a very tricky thing. But what of yours? There you are in your little suit and wearing a bow tie. 5 years old, 6, precocious, certainly, regardless of your age, and here come the musicians into the pit below what you know to be a deep, grand stage, but which is now covered by a vast curtain of such impossibly red fabric, material you long to be consumed by, to roll in endlessly, wrapping yourself in heavy, soft scarlet, the musicians causing your mother to turn to you and say of the composer, as she always does, you know, we were at the conservatory together, her and I. Conductor. Conductor. Sorry, not composer. Conductor, as she always does. You know, we were at the conservatory together, her and I. There is a vivid melancholy in her voice, soft and heavy like the red curtains, and as haunting as the sounds the chamber orchestra begin to make as the instruments are tuned. There is nothing like their screeching search for A, their loops and drops and squeaks and squawks and the patter of the timpani drum before they are all put to exquisite purpose. An instrument is nothing when not possessed by its master, merely delicate timber, cane reed and intestine string, a peculiar assortment of materials drawing your consideration as you lean over the satin rail to watch the tuning in process. Your mother's life is supposed to be greater than it's become, you understand, a life that should be driven by intellectual pursuits and the grandeur of arts institutions, but which has been stymied by your existence and your father's desertion, and now you must accompany her and learn to value everything she will sacrifice so you can live. You are an obedient study, as fascinated by her interests as you are her fiery nitric blue stilettos, her silk wraps and fur coats and lipstick, items you dress yourself in when she isn't home in order to get closer to her, because even when she is there, your mother isn't always present, because she's often angry and upset. But at the recital centre, in the arts centre, at the playhouse, in the gallery, in the cathedral, at the cinema, at the university, browsing a shelf of books in the library or bookshop, she is alive. She is 4 years old, she tells you, when she takes it upon herself to try her hand at cooking, waking up early one morning to put on her dressing gown and pass through the cold workers' cottage near the school. She strides outside, where in the dawnlight she can see down the long gravel drive out of the property, the farmhouse proper across the dam, and all the way into the valley. Rainwater tanks crowd the fence line at the western flank. A tree house Pop Anthony has built her perches in the nearest branch beyond the hen house here in the backyard. Slanted, peely, white paint beams, whistling a timber harmony, the scratch-rub joinery of silver gum limb and child idol. Whenever I collect eggs with my mother, I manage to drop one, but I've promised myself I won't this morning as I leave our weatherboard dwelling and step out into the frost and dew. It is so cold that everything comes to me in tones of steely grey and green. I step off the porch and walk down the path, passing under the clothesline between the back of the house and the chicken coop, a wooden structure with wire netting covering its door and sides. I open the creaky door, then close it behind me before stepping between chook poo and the water containers to get to the nest. I am not scared because the chooks are always quiet this early in the morning, still asleep on their roost. The nest is made of straw, and I reach in and am pleased to find that there is at least one egg. I put the egg inside my dressing gown pocket where it is warmer than in my cold hands and where it cannot be dropped, and transport it safely back inside the house and into the kitchen, where I reach for a small black frying pan sitting amongst the others there on an open shelf beside the stove. I take the pan and put it atop the stove, believing this first foray into the culinary world will be a grand success. Just like I've seen my mother do, I crack the egg into the pan and season it liberally with salt and pepper, and then I wait. It's not long because my clatter in the kitchen has stirred them before my parents are standing in the kitchen too. They're watching me, and we are all waiting for something to happen. That's chapter 1. So what do you think about that? I've got to get a glass of water. Sorry, I should have made sure I had water before I started that. Yeah, what do you think about that?
I'm quite moved.
Moved?
And I'm right there in all those moments. And I think it creates the right mood for the whole life story. The aloneness.
Right.
And the intensity. The missed opportunities.
Sure. Well, look, I mean, it's the first time we've sort of exposed what the final product might be like, which I think, you know, like you were aware of it, but I don't know. Like it feels weird to me to sort of read it because it's like, well, I don't know. Like I don't know how well it works. Obviously, there's a few things going on, which is like from a stylistic perspective, like I'm writing the story out of my perspective in the second person. So the you is me.
Yes. I think it works quite well.
And then I have combined things that you've told me and things that you've written in my voice, like you've told them to me or I've read them. But then I've also put in like entire sections that are just your own writing in your first person voice. So the voices are mixed, or the perspectives are mixed together. I think some people say it's like braided. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Necessarily, that might be the right word. I'm not sure, but
I think it works because it's like this other person looking at what is actually happening.
Okay.
There's sort of an eerie quality. That's probably not the right word.
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know.
It's always difficult. You know, in the moment when I was getting those experiences down, I was just in the moment, and it was a writing exercise. But when someone reads it to you, and a whole lifetime's gone by, there's a different understanding of it.
Yeah.
There's a sadness there already.
Like embedded in the work, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. That you're picking up on, like almost like an audience.
But as I said, it's a lifetime afterwards, and what I've experienced in the last few years too. You're forced to sort of almost have another reaction.
Oh, really? What do you mean? Well, what's the other reaction?
Well, I can see clearly the beginnings or the origins of what unfolds.
Yep.
Whereas I think when you're just writing, parts of the story, you're just involved in that writing activity. Is that, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's, having you read it to me, it's quite impactful.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, like, for people listening to this or watching this, yeah, like obviously the work I've been doing with Mum is that Mum's been writing her own story, but then I've also been writing my own story as well. And we almost like wrote them discreetly, both in first person.
Yeah.
At least some of what I was doing was in first person, some of what I was doing was in second, but it was like much more, I guess, straightforward or traditional or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But then this combined, this final version of the draft is like, it's different. Like I had to sort of think a lot about how to combine them, and obviously how to navigate the time shifts and what the kind of like the structure of the book would be from like a plot perspective and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not going to go into like all of it because, I want the final product to sort of stand on its own and for people to engage. And for people to engage with that. And then, but yeah, obviously like the reveal is that there is this sort of second person narration going on, and there are these sort of slips in time. But once we settled on a title, and it went through many different iterations of titles, and I've kind of touched on that in a previous episode when we did Girl Interrupted, but like the reason that a parallel universe became so significant was that, this realization that you and I had basically had these like almost, very similar experiences.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the parallel. Well, that's one of the parallels. There's others, but then I kind of have used that to inform like structure.
Yeah.
So like to almost show these parallels, these two like children, like the child you and the child me that are separate in time, but like, so I, and I think that will be reflected throughout the length of the book. Again, remains to be seen if it's palatable to readers. I don't really know. Like,
No, and that's difficult to gauge, of course, because we have that lived experience. But it comes across already as a powerful experience.
I suppose so. Who knows, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, like it's very, very difficult to separate yourself from the experiences and like what you know.
Yes.
And be, objective. It's so hard.
Yeah.
So trying to make sure that things are clear and maintain clarity, but without sort of tipping the balance there either, where you're, I don't know, it's been a hard process, and it remains a difficult thing. I don't know why I had to get so fucking ambitious with the style of it. Like, I don't know why I couldn't have just... Because memoirs, I mean, it's funny because we're writing one, but they always seem so fucking boring to me.
Don't put that, don't make that statement.
Yeah, well, the ones we've connected with most have been the most, like Suzanne remains the one we probably favour, and it's the least like a memoir. I mean, it's like a fictionalised biography, and it's quite strange, stylistic. Like it's not strange is the wrong word, but
yeah, no, but I think you were trying to do something a little different with it. Like it's I think they're not very interesting when it's just sort of written, this happened, that happened, tomorrow something else happened, which is sort of what I was doing initially, because I was just trying to get some
but that was like a research
moments
phase.
down, on paper,
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to sort of contemplate like the fact that, you know, you're kind of, I mean, like at the point that we're sort of putting this out, and trying to make approaches to publishers and various things and get some traction there. It's like you're a very different person to the person who sat down and wrote these things.
Yeah, but that's what I meant before. And you're also, you're at the, going towards the end of your life, and then that's at the beginning, and, you know, in the moment, you weren't seeing the significance of things. So it's a natural, when you're looking back, you know, a lot of things make more sense.
I think more and more about like what we touched on when we did the Knausgaard episode about how he was like, you know, like getting to the truth of things is often in summation, like in summary.
Yeah, of
but
course.
by the time you're at the point that you're able to make the summary, it's so removed from the moment in which it was true when it actually happened.
Yeah, but
And
I mean,
so,
that's everyone's life story.
But the nature of truth in art is really slippery. It's really elusive. It's almost kind of fake. So I don't know. Like I don't know how I feel about the book anymore.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
But it was all part of, it came out of that desire from both of us to actually work out how we ended up at a particular
Do you feel connected to the book anymore, or like?
Well, I felt real connection.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When I was listening to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think the book, at least today, recording this, the book feels. The book feels abstract almost. Like it feels weird now. Like the podcast. And all that sort of work and the conversations and all that feels almost like, you know, we did a podcast documenting writing of the book, but in a way I feel like we wrote a book to make a podcast. You know, like the podcast seems more significant to me now.
Oh, well, I think that because that's conversation in real time and where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I take your point. It's sort of almost both.
Yeah.
It's an abstract thing because it's out, you know, it's aside from our real conversations in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder.
And yet, those experiences are so real to me that I hear them and I'm there. So, do you know what I mean?
For sure.
It's abstract and real at the same time.
But I'm starting to wonder if books mean so much to me anymore. Like the published, finished version of any book. Because like I had this like when I did my novel, like it's the least satisfying part. Like the satisfaction comes from the ideas phase and building it and the conversations you have around it.
Well, I think that is, in essence, what you're saying. I mean, the podcast is conversations, as I said, in real time. And the book itself has been quite changeable. But once it's done, it's not. Yeah. Whereas the conversations can continue to change.
Yeah. Books feel really like books feel really static to me these days. They feel a bit dead, a bit cold. Like I mean, I love books. Like of course I do. But so take this with a grain of salt. But like, there's just been this thing lately where I'm sort of like, man, a book feels like kind of a static, dead, cold thing. Like it.
But is that
feel...
part of the era we're in, where people are have returned to listening? I mean, you listen to a podcast much the same as you were listening to radio once upon a time.
Yeah, of course.
And that is more in the moment, and people are, these are two real people talking.
Yeah.
Whereas, I agree. The book is there.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
People watching a podcast or listening to a podcast are getting a real feel for us or anyone who's conducting it. Do they get the same from a book? That's what you're really asking?
Yeah, I think so. I don't feel like proud of a book in the way that I feel, I don't know, it's weird. Like, that was always the thing with me, like, was that when I published things, I moved on from them very quickly. Like, they didn't sort of...
Yeah, because you valued the process. You valued trying to work out style and what you were actually wanting to say. And a book, yes, is the end product of that. It doesn't capture all the work.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel funny. I feel a bit sort of, not ambivalent. I don't know what the word is. Having read that, I'm like, yeah, this is good. This should get published. But I'm also strangely disconnected from it. Like, I feel... But that could just be this point in time. Like, it might not be indicative, and that certainly might change, in a year or two's time. And, look, if it was to get picked up and get published and do well, then, yeah, of course, that would be something to be chuffed about. But, yeah, it's a strange thing. Like, reading it myself, I'm like... I don't know how I feel about this.
Okay.
Not that's not a negative thing.
No.
That's not a negative thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Just sort of like, okay. I honestly think you forget what you write, and then you hear it, and you're like, did I do that? I guess I must have written that.
Sure.
It's writing's a weird thing, actually, the more I think about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite strange, in some ways. Yeah. Anyway, that is the first chapter. So, I don't know. Hopefully you like that. If you didn't, it's like, well, the last year has been a waste of time. So, finally, just... finally, if you can give us a follow on whatever podcast app you happen to be using, we'd really appreciate it. And a rating and review, if you've got a moment to do that, would also be appreciated on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find the show. It really helps with the algorithm. And just a little heads up that over the next few weeks, we're going to be taking a look at The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. What a name. But The Body Keeps the Score, people will probably know that title. It was sort of a big kind of best-selling, development trauma book. We're going to be concentrating a little bit on childhood development and trauma for a while, and just kind of responding to that book while we sort of talk about me a little bit more, my kind of story and experiences. That's the next book, but we're going to have that over a few weeks. Okay. Bye. Ay, ay, ay.
What's wrong?
Nothing.